Hi there, everybody. This is Mark Bromley, your favorite artist and author of the Yoranthium book series. Today, I am going to show you life drawing model number 2. This is another class of the life drawing series at Western University of Colorado in Gunnison. And as you can see, this is a very well done, very nicely done model here. We weren't really given a whole lot of time to do these model sketches before there would be a transition to another form because the models can only hold one form for a certain period of time. As you can see, this form here is lying on the side with her hand sort of behind her ear, which is a pressure point where you can basically force yourself to fall asleep. So yeah, holding this pose would probably be monumentally impossible after a certain amount of time of pressing that particular pressure point behind the ear right there. End up knocking yourself out. And here we are in a pretty good art class. This model happens to be fairly fit, I would say. Of course, you got this line that's separating the septum and the two halves of the body. I actually had a woman art student say that a lot of women don't have these kind of lines on their body. Um, they all do. All women do. No matter how much weight they put on, they still have these lines that are. I can see them. I don't know why they can't see them. What's wrong? What's wrong with women these days? They can't see these things. I mean, I see things that they don't see. Like for instance, my idea of that there is less shadow on the human figure than a lot of artists paint. Too much. There's less black and white. It's more color. It's more a hue of color, like a blue or a purple or a red or a pink or even a yellow or tan of some kind of an orangish color actually seeps into the skin tone, actually changing it, not exactly dark as in black, but dark as in another color. Light as in a higher color, but not white. So it's not black or white. Because a lot of artists get into this habit of mistakenly translating color into mud. Basically, when they start creating artwork, they get really dirty in their work because they just kind of turn it into like, let's just slap some mud in there, some dark mud in there, some light mud in there, and put some more mud in there. Um, yeah, you can make a nice painting with mud. No one's saying that you can't, but you miss the color, the subtleties of the color that is still within the skin. I think I exaggerate that in my Yoranthium book series when I describe the shading of the sea elf skin. Not, I haven't even got it right because it involves scales that are really subtle and there's a sheen to it. There's a kind of a shine and a shimmer and a glitter to it. And anyways, when their scales actually transmute the dark colors or the darker shaded tones into another color of skin tone. So basically, they don't really reflect white and black. They never do. They never reflect the actual shading that you normally see on people, on human beings. They show a shading of color. That's what happens. It's kind of like a sea elf camouflage thing in the Yoranthium book series, but we'll talk about that more later. That's not what this is about. This is about life drawing right here, new drawings back in the 1990s. Um, of course, the model was there, paid for by the college. Of course, there's the tip jar out there. I was a pretty shy person, shy artist back then. And yeah, I could do a very fantastic rendering and very professional drawing of a nude form. But I had difficulties talking to the models and stuff afterwards and stuff like that because I was shy. And well, some of them were quite remarkably pretty, and they're all pretty. Make no mistake about that. And and I never really got to understand what motivated them to this point of exhibitionism for an art class. How they got talked into it, how they thought this was actually supposed to happen, And later on, I find out what most people do when they see things like this and what they turn it into in like places like Tijuana, like Thailand, uh, various other places where they'll have the seedy side of town, which happens to be next to a lot of military bases for some reason. Maybe it's because of a lot of lonely guys on a military base. That might be the real reason why those places exist. And oh, well, you can't really fault them for being human, right? It is a human process, but it does lead to my third book in the series, Land of the Potentate, where I talk about that, how a repressed society can create such horrible slavery and then deny it and try to ignore the realities of what they've caused and what they've created. How they could actually sit there and instead of calling themselves the Confederates, they call themselves the Democrat Party. And they're the same party. They're the same people that enslaved the people. Their very founder was the biggest slave owner in the United States, the most brutal. And he did that because he was not growing just textiles like cotton and food. He was actually growing poppies everywhere because that was a drug. That was a drug that the masses was using. Mary Todd Lincoln was a poppy addict. Opium. That's what it's called. It's called opium. It's from the seeds of the poppy. And there was a lot of addicts back then. As a matter of fact, we don't have to worry about Mexican drug cartels or Argentinian drug cartels or any other drug cartels anywhere else in the world because the very first industry in the United States of America was created by the founder of the Democrat Party, the opium fields. And that's what slavery was all about, farming opium in the United States. Of course, they subdue this in our history books. They don't tell us this in our history books because the Democrats want to lie to you. They want to clean up their image. They don't want to tell you that they're the ones that were behind Wilkes Booth's assassination of Abraham Lincoln because they wanted to reinstall slavery. They just wanted to hide it under a different name, indentured servitude, or volunteering, volunteer or get socially shamed in our modern day society, which is a socialist communist plot of the fake and false religion of government. Yes, government is a form of religion, and it's usually led by somebody in the top of the government that wants to see themselves as a god among their people. Biden wants to be your god. He's an incompetent god, but he wants to be your god nonetheless. Mao Zedong, his communism was a religion. Mao Zedong wanted to be a god. He got offended because Buddhism was the religion of his people. So he attacked Tibet. His goal was to actually kill the Dalai Lama. But karma allowed the Dalai Lama to evade such a fate. And he lived longer than Mao Zedong ever did. Mao Zedong was a false god. Communism is a false religion. Socialism is a fantasy. It's a fairy tale. I shouldn't say fairy tale. It's more like a cosmic nightmare of oppression and true horror. Probably which brings along the worship of Moloch, the killing of babies, to feed the demons of communism. Actually encourages things like abortion in this world. It does. And a lot of people don't really see that reality. They don't see the reality that that's actually what it is. But you start to see this if you actually study life drawing from an artist's perspective. When you're a pure artist and you actually see the wonder of life itself through life drawing. You see, life drawing teaches art skill that is better than manga, better than anime, because anime artists, they are Pygmalion artists. They are trying to sculpt their perfect vision of the hinge dolls that they've seen. A hinge doll. You know what a hinge doll is. A hinge doll is a fundamental sculpture of just where limbs bend on the human form. It's usually made out of wood. It has a couple ball bearings in there, some rubber bands, and you can tweak it around because it's held in place by tension, and you can pose it and make a little bit of modeling. That's the hinge model. That's the hinge model art that a lot of anime and manga is actually about. Hinge. And it's just where the things flex and where the things bend. But it ignores the reality of the surface of the being, of the human being, the outer surface, that is composed of the internal structure that does include things like muscle tissue, fat tissue, uh, differences in genetic code, which makes every single person unique and different in this world and beautiful. It, you could sort of say, even though I say the artist style, I use the anime to give an indication because some people refer to it like anime. They think it's anime because it's so bright and brilliant and vibrant in my idea, but it's not really anime. I just say that. It's more like realism and Renaissance work being melded with Impressionism, Surrealism, Symbolism, creating a much more intriguing form of art. Like I said, you'll see a lot of my earlier work. You may have actually seen this model before. Let me flip that around because I think that's how she is in the painting. But now I just gave that one away. Which one's the girlfriend and which one's the model? I just told you. Oops. Bummer. Now you know the model. This is the model. This is not the girlfriend. So that's what that is.